Well, there it is.
I'm in Louisiana on a week-long mission to try and find over 100 species. On day one, Derek and I explored the areas surrounding Baton Rouge, the capital of the state, and found 45 species. Today, we're starting out earlier in the morning and closer to our base camp, the city of Thibodaux. We arrived in an area used by Nicholls State University for environmental studies and quickly found numerous new bird species for the trip. We're at a completely different habitat now. We are at a former farm where there is a lot more open space, and I've seen a couple different species already. So there's been a lot more meadowlarks, and then red-tailed hawk, bald eagle, and a loggerhead shrike, which was really cool to see. The wide open spaces provided fantastic habitat for field birds, but a water source on the property created a whole different ecosystem that allowed even more birds to live there.
So this is Bayou Folse right here that runs through this area. This is actually a restricted access place, so it's very quiet. There's not a lot of activity as far as people go, but there's definitely a lot of bird activity this morning.
It's really nice out too.
It's beautiful out. This is probably some of the best weather you could ask for in Louisiana.
On the bayou, an anhinga dried its wings, and nearby, white-crowned sparrows and cowbirds foraged in the bushes. One of the most numerous birds in the area was a sparrow species that can commonly be found in most parts of the state, the Savannah sparrow. Savannah sparrows have a light brown back and a dark brown streaked white underside. The most distinctive feature of this species is the yellow running from their bill to their eye. Savannah sparrows can be found throughout the United States from the very southern states all the way to Alaska at different times of the year. These birds migrate from the south into the northern United States and Canada in the springtime, and then breed in the upper half of the country. Savannah sparrows can be found in grasslands and other areas with open spaces and few trees. Later that day, we went to the Jean Lafitte National Historical Park and Preserve, just south of New Orleans. This particular section of the preserve was a cypress swamp with a boardwalk trail cutting through the habitat. This area provided the quintessential Louisiana swamp experience and also contained some classic southern reptiles, most notably green anoles and a large American alligator. In terms of birds, our best find was a prothonotary warbler, but we managed several other new species for the trip as well. At the end of day 2, I had a grand total of 68 species. The next day, Derek had to do work around town, so we stayed in Thibodaux and checked some local spots. First up was an area with shallow and slow-moving water, where we found some wading birds, including a greater yellowlegs, killdeer, and a snowy egret. After that, we switched gears and followed a hot tip on a very interesting snake species that we were told we could find in town.
This is a Brahminy blind snake. And so one of my teachers actually said you could find these by the cemetery. They're also called flower pot snakes because people will bring the flowers here and the snakes are actually in the flower pots, so they kind of establish themselves. And we were flipping stuff trying to find them, couldn't find anything, so we decided to walk around. We're just about to go and I kicked this kind of wood pile and this guy was underneath. I scooped him up and we got this little tank and now we're checking him out. Really looks like a worm, kind of moves like a sea snake though. It definitely musked me. And it was very potent, which is kind of, look at how it coils like that. But you can barely see his little face, his tongue flicks out every once in a while. A really incredible little creature.
This is one of the coolest snakes I've ever seen. It's so specialized. It looks like a worm but moves like a snake. And these are actually native to India and Africa, but they've come over to some parts of the United States, as Derek said, in the flower pots and substrate that people have brought over. And so it's just a really cool little species that you can find in some parts of the US. Just like that.
We did it. We got the blind snake. I really did not think it was going to happen. Because we'd flipped over a bunch of stuff, saw nothing, And then I saw this like kind of woodish debris, and I was like, I'm just gonna kick it and see what's under it. And then I see this thing wiggling, and I'm like, well, there it is. So it was the kind of thing like I'd never seen it before, but I knew exactly what it was when I saw it. Crazy.
You must be happy.
I'm pumped. That's a new snake.
Did that make your day?
It did, yeah. Blind snake.
Wanting to continue our reptile and amphibian hot streak, we returned to the Nichols farm to flip some tin. Before we arrived at our location, we noticed a sparrow species that frequents agricultural fields.
Just had some Vesper sparrows, which is a pretty cool bird. They kind of have a Lapland longspur look, almost like a mix between a longspur and a sparrow when you look at the different features.
The Vesper sparrow's range map looks very similar to that of the savanna sparrow, with the species migrating north in the spring. However, the Vesper sparrow doesn't make it as far north as the savanna sparrow, stopping shy of Alaska. They have a dark gray to light brown base color, with a white eye ring and white markings on their cheeks. This species also has a reddish-brown color near the shoulder, white on their outer tail feathers, and mottling on the wings. Vesper sparrows reside in open areas with sparse vegetation, and can often be found in farm fields where they feed on seeds and insects. After admiring the Vesper sparrow for a while, we began flipping the tin, finding a few little brown skinks and a narrow-mouthed toad.
He's a little chilly, actually.
Is he?
Yeah. When these guys call, they sound like sheep. Very cute.
He definitely has a different look to him than normal toads.
Yeah, for sure.
He has kind of that more arrow point shape.
You can see it would just blend in perfectly with the ground.
At the end of day 3, I added only a handful of new birds, bringing the total up to 73. Days 4 and 5, however, would prove to be huge days in terms of birding and wild experiences. Be sure to check those videos out as they become available for viewing. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Badgerland Birding.